The monster of the Andes high in the Andes Mountains, there are places where the earth gives nothing back. Villages scattered across steep hillsides, dirt paths instead of roads. Children who walk alone for miles. In the late 1970s, girls began disappearing from these places. At first, no one connected the dots. One missing child here, another village weeks later. Another country entirely. But then police followed a man into the mountains. They watched him stop, point to the ground. When officers dug, they didn't find one body. They found many. This is the story of Pedro Lopez, a man who confessed to killing hundreds of children, who guided police to mass graves across 3 nations, and who was later released from prison. His final victim count is unknown. His current whereabouts are unknown, and for many families, the truth came far too late. Pedro Lopez was born in 1948 in Colombia, into a family shaped by poverty, instability, and violence. He was one of 7 children, growing up in conditions where survival often came before care. Accounts from later psychiatric interviews describe a childhood marked by physical abuse, neglect, early exposure to violence. At a very young age, Lopez was expelled from his home. He would later claim this happened after his mother caught him in an inappropriate situation and punished him harshly. Whether every detail of Lopez's account is accurate is impossible to verify. But what is known is this: by the age of 8, he was living on the streets. There, he experienced repeated sexual assaults, often by older boys or men. No protection, no intervention. As a teenager, he drifted between Colombia and Peru, committing small crimes to survive. Eventually, he was arrested in Peru and sent to prison, a place that would permanently shape his worldview. Inside, Lopez was assaulted again. This time, other inmates killed his attacker. Lopez would later describe that moment not as justice, but as revelation. To understand how Lopez operated for so long, you must understand where he hunted. The Andes Mountains stretch across multiple countries, cutting through rural farming villages, indigenous communities, areas with minimal police presence. In the late 1970s, communication between countries was limited. Missing children were rarely formally documented. Poor families had little access to law enforcement. Children often walked alone, to school, to markets, to nearby towns. For Lopez, this environment wasn't an obstacle. It was an advantage. Between 1978 and 1980, Lopez targeted young girls, typically between 8 and 12 years old. He chose victims carefully, from poor families, often indigenous or rural, unlikely to trigger immediate searches. Witnesses later described him as quiet, polite, non-threatening. He approached children with kindness, not force, offering fruit, small gift, promises of work or help. Once he gained trust, he led them away from populated areas, into forests, hills, or abandoned paths. According to court testimony and forensic findings, he sexually assaulted the victims. He killed them, usually by strangulation. He buried them in shallow graves, sometimes returning to the sites. Lopez later claimed he murdered over 300 girls. This number has never been independently verified. Authorities were only able to confirm around 110 victims through evidence and recovered remains. Still, investigators widely believe the true number is higher. During interrogations, Lopez showed little remorse. Psychiatrists noted narcissistic traits, lack of empathy, grandiose self-justification. He framed his crimes as purposeful. This belief reflects extreme moral disengagement, a common trait among prolific serial offenders. Importantly, Lopez was not found legally insane. He understood right from wrong. He simply did not care. This distinction would later play a crucial role in his sentencing. The investigation truly began in Ecuador, where disappearances had reached a critical mass. Parents reported repeated sightings of a man near schools, children being followed, attempts to lure girls away. In 1980, police arrested Lopez after an attempted abduction near Ambato. Initially, he denied involvement. But evidence mounted. Suspicious maps, notes referencing locations, items linked to missing girls. Then came the turning point. Under guard, Lopez led police into remote areas. What they found shocked even seasoned officers. Grave after grave, bones, clothing fragments, hair ties. In Ecuador alone, dozens of bodies were recovered based on his directions. Investigators from Colombia and Peru were alerted. The case expanded beyond borders. Latin American media quickly named him El Monstruo de los Andes. The public reaction was intense. Fear, rage, grief. Families finally had answers, but no peace. Many victims could not be identified. Many families never recovered remains. Lopez was tried primarily in Ecuador, where most evidence existed. Despite the scale of the crimes, Ecuadorian law at the time limited maximum sentences. Murders committed in other countries faced jurisdictional barriers. Many victims lacked formal identification. Lopez was sentenced to 16 years in prison, the legal maximum. For families, the sentence felt incomprehensible. He was classified as dangerous but not insane. No life sentence. No indefinite detention. In 1998, after serving his sentence and reportedly earning reductions for good behavior, Pedro Lopez was released. He was deported to Colombia. After that, the trail goes cold. There are conflicting reports of rearrest, unverified sightings, rumors of death. His status remains unknown. Pedro Lopez may be one of the most prolific serial killers in recorded history. Yet his name is rarely mentioned globally. Why? Because his victims were poor. Because they lived far from power. Because their disappearances were easy to ignore. This case forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about inequality, about justice systems, about whose lives are counted. The monster of the Andes did not escape because he was invisible. He escaped because his victims were. The graves remain. The questions remain. And the silence is the loudest thing of all. If justice has limits, who protects the forgotten? Justice in this story was incomplete. Closure never came. Somewhere possibly, the monster of the Andes lived out his days in freedom,